morning, everybody, and we're going to take a quick look at Bitcoin and see what we can see on this crazy chart and analyze the action and get a clue, take a wild guess on what could be coming up next as far as any major movements. Okay, so just checking out the chart right now. Let's turn on the drawing feature so we can scribble all over this and make some indications here with some arrows. I have drawn this new parallel trading channel that depicts this action that's been happening since June. So this is a very, very long channel going from June through the end of 2019 up until now. And actually, I don't think that we're really seriously at the end of this, and I want to talk about what I think that could happen within the next few days. So to begin with, let's just look at the stochastic, which always gives us a good indication of what is up and coming, because right now we notice that the fast line has overtaken the slow line. The fast line is the blue line, and it looks like it is on an upward trajectory. We're already above the line of demarcation, which is right here at the 80% point, or I'm sorry, 20% point. It's 80% when you're up here at the top. And it looks like there could be a little bit more positive momentum coming from this point, but that's what we're going to discuss right now, and also make a point about these stochastic peaks, tongue-tied. So notice that when we had this peak right here, this peak coincides with this peak on the price line. And then we had the next peak here that coincides with this peak, this peak here. So then we see a price decline where our stochastic was trying to pop up a little bit, but it looks like we had a nice little downtrend to the bottom. What I am going to be watching is what happens on the next major stochastic peak. So what we notice is that, let's say for instance, we have a peak here, and then we have a peak here, coincides with a higher price. And then this peak, we never made it over the overbought territory, but it coincided with a lower high. And so that's indicative of a downtrend. But then notice here, where each time we peaked, we started here, then we have another stochastic peak, higher price, another stochastic peak, higher price, and so on and so forth. This is an uptrend. But now, once we finish this movement, let's say, for instance, if we happen to pop all the way up to the top of this trading channel, and then let's say, for instance, we sail down to another low point. Who knows where that might be? Maybe it's going to hit this blue fib line that I have here. But let's analyze what could happen. Let's say if by the time this peaks out and we are in the green territory and we finish off in overbought territory and we have a peak, and let's say at this peak, if that coincides with a lower, if this is right above and it is lower than this high here, if it's a lower high along with an equal stochastic peak as what we had before, we're still in a downtrend. So that's what we need to watch for. What we truly need to have happen for this to be a continuation of this bull market is if the price breaks the top of this channel and we move up towards this blue ring, and then we have like a really nice stochastic peak. I can't say that word tonight. We have a nice stochastic peak to coincide with that price hike. And everyone is saying that we're going to bounce higher, and I'm a contrarian. I don't think it's that I don't think it is as big of a possibility to continue on this bull run. And I'm going to show you what I think is going to happen after we hit the top of this trading channel and come back towards the bottom, because this could be very possible, because we have, look at all these low points here playing along the bottom side, and it's been a while since we have had a price that is at the bottom of the channel, and I think it is coming up. All right, let's clear everything. and turn drawing off. Okay, so we can zoom out. We're going to go to the one. We are on the 1 day. Let's go to the 1 week. Let's really zoom out so we can get the big picture. That was a line. I don't want to draw a line. We've got the arrow button here. Now we can see, I almost need to flip to my blank Bitcoin chart so we can see this. I guess we can kind of see it. Well, let's do this. Let's jump to the blank one. Here we go, BTC USD. There we have it. Now this is much, why does it keep disappearing like that? That's very, very strange. Oh, because of this big, look at this. See this big peak here? That's ruining the rest of the data on this chart. All right, it'll still work. So what we noticed before, let's draw. We had the big run up in 20 whatever, I can't even remember, into 2017. So there it is right there. And then we had the whipsaw action after the blow off top where we went down and then we come up and then we start going down and we realized that this is some side banding movement. So we had a lot of this boring up and down, side banding movement. And if you could picture a bouncy ball, a rubber ball that is going bounce high, plop, 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 plop. And it's at the end of its bouncing. This is what happened here. And that's why we had the big sell off and went through the floor at that point, all the way down to the, I think this is the 200-day moving average. So it returned itself all the way down to that 200-day EMA. Now, what I notice now, let's clear everything, is that we could have a microcosm of the same movement that we had before. Because now we had the great big run here. And then after that, what do we get? Blow off top. So now we're bouncy, 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 up and down. And that's why I'm thinking we're going to head right back down to here. But if it settles down here, if we are at a point where we've got kind of a settling line, let's move this line. Okay, oops. Undo. Let's select it. Let's say this is that baseline, kind of like what we saw back here where we kept bouncing along this line before we hit the El Tanko. So let's say if this line is similar to that one, and it could be, doggone it, I want to select. It could be at that same level that if we end up bouncing along this line after many, many months, I'm going to tell you what, there's going to be a dump and it's going to come down to that exponential moving average, wherever it might be. I mean, this time we might not see this huge drop like what we had then, but whatever the case, we might end up at the end of all this movement and take a drop to wherever that exponential moving average ends up being. So let's clear everything and turn off drawing and zoom out. Once again, we can't use this chart because of that big candle, but let's just go to the daily and see what it looks like. I think we can fit it. No, we can't. That's too bad. Well, if we blow it up this way. So apparently on some trading service, there was a purchase of Bitcoin that was around 300,000. Maybe that's a good preview to come. Let's get out of that. Let's move on back to my good chart with all of the messy scribbles and lines. So here it is, blow off top, bounce, 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 drop, blow off top, bounce, 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 mini drop, bounce, 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 drop. So if this turns into the same pattern that what we saw before, something similar, it could drag down that whatever long exponential moving average was, where when we get out ahead of this formation, out into this territory here, now let's just use the trading view. So if we do something like this, this is what I'm saying, we could drop back down, and maybe it doesn't drop down to the level that we were before here at that 3,200 or whatever that was, 3,800, 3,200. But it could be somewhere, who knows? I'm thinking around the 4,000, 4,500 level. That's not a good line. Let's take that away. So get off of there. So we could have something like this and then drop down right in this 4,000 level. And then after that, that's when I think we're going to experience the next major humongous cataclysmic rocket ship that's going to go above anything and everything that we have seen to this point. Now, let me make this point also. Let's zoom out one more time on this chart. And I'm going to make this point here. I am not impressed with anything. Go back to the arrow, you crazy thing. Here's the all-time high. There we go. All right. So I'm not impressed with anything happening, period, with Bitcoin until we get out of this zone that we're stuck in. So what are we stuck in? We had this all-time high, nearly 20,000. So let's just make this range between the high and the low here. This is a nothing burger. None of the action that happens in between here makes a hill of beans difference. And everybody gets so excited with movements here within this channel. Oh, we're moving up. Oh, we're going down. Oh, we're moving up. Oh, we're going down. And all we're just within such a small microcosm. We're not even playing in the range that we were before. It's no news. What's going to have to happen is a movement that takes us like to the moon off of this chart. It's not even going to be visible on this chart. Let's clear this here and let's turn drawing off and scrunch down. I want to show you how far that we have to look to even see. Let's scrunch this way. Look at that. We would have to do this, okay, to show you what the real next movement that we should get excited about is. Here's what it's going to look like. If this is 20,000, okay, the next one is going to be something like that. It's going to dwarf this. All this, look how small this looks now. Look at the area that we're in right now. Let's just draw a circle around all this excitement that we've had since that peak that is not even making it to the peak of the all-time high. It's not even there. It's not even in the range. And we're all excited. We should not be losing sleep about anything that happens within this circle right here until we see this. And even on this chart that I have right now, what is this? Let me move my face out of the way. That's only 68,000. I'm thinking it's going to be 100 to 150,000. Let's clear this. Let's turn off drawing. Let's scrunch it down more because this doesn't even do it any justice. Okay, now we're doing something. Good grief. So look at this. Here's the all-time high, right? At 20,000, 19,000 right there. Okay, so now let's draw and show you what the next move is going to look like. You know good and doggone well when we break out of this thing, it's going to make everything else look like miniature city. That's what always happens when we break into the new zones. 100,000, 140,000. That's where it's going to go. We're going to be into the new leagues. And then it'll do something like this. Okay? And then on the next run, it's going to probably be messing around in the 500,000 range to 1 million. And we're excited about what? This little activity here. Crazy. Let's draw a circle around that. Here it is right here. We're excited about this. But this is what's to come. This is nothing back here. This right here, that's nothing. Okay, compared to what is going to happen. All that is a paltry 19,000. What in the world? It's teeny weeny. But then what's coming up in comparison we're talking, that's what's coming up. So to shop and compare and put things in perspective, this is the picture that we have that I would like to present to you. So that's all I've got. That's enough of me rambling on. I thought this would be fun just to talk big picture and minimize everything and all of the discussions that are going on today. This is Carlton Flowers, the Crypto Pro. We'll be back soon. See you next time.